This is my recommendation for the best Druid leveling build in Season 9. In this build, we're going to be using Earth Spike with the aspect that they just buffed called Seismic Shift. Not only is this a really strong leveling option, but it's also easy to play and to get off the ground. But before we get into the details, if you enjoy my content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also be live on Twitch at the beginning of the season. Now you'll see here that I have tabs for endgame, mid-game, and early game. Each of these have different Paragon boards, as well as different items. But for this leveling build, we're going to be on the early game tab. So if you click on the link underneath the stream, you're going to look for Poison Earth Spike and the early game tab. Now it's important to note that you're going to need the Seismic Shift aspect before the skill gets particularly strong. But don't worry too much because I added multiple different damage sources in the build. So if you don't have one of them, you'll still be okay. So our main damage source is going to be Earth Spike, but a big secondary source of damage will be our Cataclysm in the early game. And we're also going to have Wolves. I recommend if you don't get Seismic Shift aspect fairly early, that you actually take the points from Earth Spike and dump them into Wolves, or possibly even Poison Creeper. We're also using the Subterranean aspect, so those early points, if you get Subterranean, could go into Landslide as well. We've got Earth and Bulwark to break CC if we need it. Our Wolves can tank for us, and they'll also be dealing additional damage. We're running the Pack Leader Spirit Boon, so you should be able to spam your Wolves and your Poison Creeper fairly often. And Blood Howl we're using for some early healing, but it's also one of the best ways to activate our defensive passives. For our Spirit Boons, you're going to use Gift of the Stag if you already have your adaptability, but if not, go with Wariness. On Eagle, we're running Swooping Attacks and Avian Wrath. If it's very early in the game, you can swap Avian Wrath and instead go for Scythe Talons. That's going to give you more critical strike chance. Again, for Wolf, we're running Pack Leader, and then for Snake, we're running Calm Before the Storm. That's going to allow us to keep our Cataclysm up more often. Now, when you're leveling, you have no guarantee of what aspects you're actually going to get early. There are some that you can target farm, but just keep in mind that this might be a bit of a hosh-posh in the early game. So I listed most of the aspects that are useful to you. But let's just say, for example, you happen to get one like Shepherd's aspect, and you didn't have another offensive aspect yet. You could definitely run Shepherds on the build to buff your Wolves. But I'm recommending Spirit Bond on the helmet, Aspect of Might on the chest, and Undying on the pants. These can all be swapped interchangeably. For offensive aspects, I'm recommending Seismic Shift aspect, Subterranean aspect, Moonrise aspect, Rapid aspect, and Vehement Brawlers aspect. Those can also be swapped interchangeably. On the boots, we're running Hectic, just another way to keep our Cataclysm up, and then Adaptability on our Amulet. For our early game runes, we don't have a lot of options, so I just went with Seer, and I'm pairing that with Critical Strike Chance, so we get that early Critical Strike Chance and actually get the damage. And Neo with Kua. In the early game, you're basically going to use whatever you get, but you're more likely to see these early on. I'm not going to focus too much on the Herodric spells, but I would say work towards what you're going to use in the endgame build, so I'm leaving these as they are. Same thing for the jewels that go in the accessories, but you want willpower on the armor, and I recommend critical strike damage or vulnerable damage on the weapon. If you already have your ultimate, then vulnerable damage will be 100% uptime, so that's pretty good. By the way, if I didn't mention it properly, the main gameplay loop is you're going to be spamming Earth Spike. You just hold it down, cast Cataclysm when it's off its cooldown, spam your Wolves and your Poison Creeper, and also spam your Blood Howl. Now for the skill tree, I did my best to put these in order, so if you click on leveling path, it should be pretty much what you're looking for as you level. But don't hold me to this because it may not be perfect. We're obviously maxing out our Earth Spike. We're grabbing Predatory Instinct for some extra critical hit early. We're getting just enough points in Earth and Bulwark for the Unstoppable, just enough points in Blood Howl in order to get the attack speed. We're getting some damage out of Backlash, and some survivability out of Ancestral Fortitude and Vigilance. We're putting our basic points into Wolves, as well as Poison Creeper, and this will actually increase our critical strike chance when we use Poison Creeper, which is pretty good in the early game. We're getting some extra damage out of Humanity, Nature's Reach, and Feral Aptitude. We're extending the duration of our Cataclysm with Endless Tempest. We're increasing the damage on our Earth Spike with our Stone Guard, and Safeguard is going to help keep our Fortify maxed out. We're also going to get more damage out of Envenom, Defiance, Natural Disaster, and Resonance. Maxing out Cataclysm to do as much damage as possible in the early game, and maxing out Quick Shift for some extra damage. Finally, for our Keystone passive, we're going with Earth and Might, and while we may not benefit from the extra Spirit from this in the early game, we are getting guaranteed critical strike chance and 70% critical strike damage, which is huge when we don't have a lot in the build yet. For the Paragon boards, I recommended just 2 boards. After you get done with these boards, you're going to need to look at the mid game and start working towards that. But for the early game, on the first board, I'm recommending Spirit. This is a nice one to start with because you get a lot of additive damage. And with the Earth and Might Keystone passive, you're going to get full benefit out of this. We're just hitting the bare minimum to get all of these nice juicy rare nodes. And on the next board, I'm throwing on Sinister Tendrils. And this is because this works for both our Earth Spike as well as our Cataclysm. Not to mention there's a lot of defensive nodes on this board, which makes it really good for getting through that early game. For the glyph here, we're going with Earth and Sky. Again, it's working for both our Cataclysm and our Earth Spike. For mercenaries, I usually recommend going Rahir, and either going for Rahir's Aegis if you need the all resist, or Rahir's Guard if you need the armor. Both sides give you some additional damage, so just choose whichever one's best for you. For reinforcement, I like to go with Variana because she has attack speed in the early game, which is fairly nice. And I have an entire section down below for mercenaries if you want to take a look at that. Again, if you want to see this written guide for yourself, click on the link below the video. And I'll be putting out the endgame version of this fairly soon. I'm also going to be putting out Stormclaw and several other builds before the season starts. So keep an eye out and make sure you tell me what you're looking forward to. But on that note, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Daddy Druid out.
Subscribe to Scream Heart. He's more than an old fart. He makes lots of fun builds. I promise his streams chill. He should probably be faster. Come watch this disaster.